Nobody on set was prepared for the storm that broke out between Yandy and Sierra this week. The day had started like any other filming, cameras rolling, crew trying to capture that balance of jokes and shade. But there was something in the air, a quiet charge, the kind that says something dangerous is about to happen. When Sierra spoke, she didn't just toss a little side eye. She went for the throat, weaving in sly remarks about Yandy's alleged past ties to certain well-known faces. At first, Yandy stayed seated, lips tight, eyes narrowing like she was silently asking herself if the words were worth a response. But Sierra's tone carried that smug certainty of someone convinced they were about to shut the whole room down. Then it happened. Yandy rose to her feet, closed a space between them, and with one clean, deliberate motion, her palm met Sierra's cheek. The crack of that slap sliced through the chatter, through the background music, through every fake smile in the room. People froze, someone gasped, the set's carefully staged energy collapsed into something raw, unpredictable, and very, very real. Sierra's hand drifted up to touch the spot where skin had met skin. Her eyes wide, not just in shock, but with the awareness that this moment would live forever in memory and on camera. She opened her mouth as if to fire back, but for a heartbeat, nothing came out. Even the clatter of a production assistant dropping a clipboard made half the room jump. Every second felt stretched, heavy with the sense that one wrong move could ignite a bigger explosion. Yandy stood her ground, shoulders squared, gaze locked. It wasn't the look of someone who'd lost control. It was the look of someone done holding back. Hours earlier, no one could have guessed the day would unravel like this. In the green room, it had all seemed lighthearted. Makeup brushes swiping across faces, gossip about who was late, playful digs about clothes. But the tension between the two had been simmering for weeks. It began as little jabs, then escalated into something heavier that everyone noticed but no one dared address. During a break, Sierra had been laughing with a few others, telling a story about how people can try to reinvent themselves, but the past always finds them. The sarcasm in her voice made it obvious she wasn't speaking in general. The others traded glances. They knew exactly who she meant. Later, when filming resumed, she made it undeniable, you know. Some of us don't need to pretend we never had certain connections, she said, eyes flicking toward Yandy just long enough to make it sting. Especially when those connections involve people we all know. The shift in the room was instant. Some cast members froze mid-laugh, caught between pretending nothing happened and waiting to see where it went. Yandy's jaw tightened. She'd heard every word and she wasn't about to let it slide. Sierra pressed on, name-dropping old rumors and stories that had never been confirmed, delivering them like casual remarks while aiming them like darts. One crew member later said it felt like watching someone play chicken with a moving train. Everyone could see the collision coming. Everyone knew Yandy had warned Sierra privately that some topics were off-limits, but Sierra clearly wanted to test how far she could push. When the breaking point came, it wasn't wild or sloppy. It was precise. Yandy stepped forward, her hand meeting Sierra's face with a measured force that said more than words. Mendices, sitting nearby, straightened in his chair, his eyes flicking between them like he was ready to jump in if it went further. "So that's what you do now?" Sierra's voice was low, dripping accusation. "You can't handle the truth. So you put your hands on me." Yandy's reply was calm but sharp enough to cut. "You don't know what you're talking about. Keep my name out of your mouth unless you're ready to back it up." With facts, the murmurs began immediately. Not loud enough to stop the scene, but enough to let everyone know the whole set was buzzing. The producers signaled for the cameras to keep rolling. This was the kind of footage they prayed for. Sierra leaned in, smirking again. "Maybe I don't need to prove anything. Maybe people should just start connecting the dots themselves." Gasps followed. The way she said it made it clear she was dangling something bigger. The air seemed to drop a few degrees as the cast braced for what came next. "You know what's funny?" Sierra's tone softened into mock playfulness, though the edge beneath it was obvious. "People love to preach honesty and loyalty, until honesty hits a little too close to home." Her gaze locked on Yandy, smirk deepening. Yandy took a slow breath but stayed silent, which only pushed Sierra further. "Since we're keeping it real, maybe we should talk about how certain friendships turned into other things, and how those things didn't exactly end when they should have." A fresh round of gasps filled the room. A cameraman zoomed in on Yandy's face, waiting for even the slightest flicker of reaction. "What are you even talking about?" Yandy asked, voice steady but edged like glass. "You know exactly what I'm talking about." Sierra shot back without hesitation, and so do some of the people sitting right here. She turned her head, locking eyes with another cast member, who immediately looked away. The sudden way some cast members started studying the floor spoke volumes without a single word. That low hum of murmurs ran through the room like a current, snapping from one corner of the set to the other. A producer stepped forward, half raising a hand as if to cut in, but thought better of it, clearly deciding the cameras needed to see this play out. Yandy took one step closer, her voice cutting clean through the noise. If you've got something to say, Sierra, say it. Stop with the cryptic digs. If you're telling a story, tell it all, because right now, all I hear is background static. Sierra's smirk straightened into something sharper. Fine, you want me to be plain? There were people in this very circle who thought they could have it all, the family, the business, and a little extra on the side. And no, I'm not talking about strangers. Gasps broke out, some low muttering followed, and eyes bounced between the two women like they were tracking a match point. Yandy tilted her head, lips curling into a dry, humorless smile. So, that's what we're doing now. Throwing mud and hoping something sticks. Call it mud if you want. Sierra fired back. But there are people who've seen things, heard things. You think everybody's just forgotten? One of the other women shifted in her seat, obviously uneasy but unable to stay silent. Maybe this isn't the right time. No. Yandy cut in, her tone like a blade. This is exactly the right time. I'm not letting her sit here and make up whatever story she wants while I'm standing here to answer. The air grew thick, the set suddenly feeling smaller, heavier. Even the sound of someone moving in their chair pulled eyes. On the surface, Sierra was calm, but she closed the distance until there was almost nothing between them. The crew tensed, in unison, bracing for a second slap. You can deny it all day, Yandy, but I've got receipts. And maybe when the time's right, I'll share them. That word, receipts, was gasoline on the fire. The murmurs turned sharp, quick, sparking from one group to the next. Yandy's head tilted slightly, eyes narrowing. If you're going to wave around proof, you better make sure it's real. Because once you cross that line, there's no taking it back. Mendices finally spoke, his voice low but steady. You both need to cool down before this becomes something we can't walk away from. Sierra glanced his way. Don't worry, I'm not afraid to fix things. I'm just not in the habit of sweeping the truth under the rug for the sake of appearances. Yandy let out a short, dry laugh. Truth. That's rich coming from you. The verbal fencing resumed, every word a blade. Crew members leaned forward, eyes locked on the exchange. The makeup team whispered to the camera crew that if this made it to air, it'd be the most replayed scene of the season. Then, in a move no one predicted, Sierra reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She didn't unlock it, didn't flash anything, just held it loosely, the blank screen facing away. But everyone in the room knew what she was saying without a single word. Yandy's gaze flicked to the phone, then back to her rival's face. If you think I'm intimidated by you holding a phone, you've got me confused. Not scared, Sierra replied, lowering her tone to match. But maybe you should be concerned. The way she said it felt less like a threat and more like a promise. The room quieted. That dangerous kind of silence where every breath feels loud. The phone became a symbol now. A weapon that didn't need to be powered on to send a message. She tapped her fingers lightly against it, letting everyone imagine what might be inside. Photos, videos, messages, each possibility worse than the last. Mendices stepped forward, eyes narrowing. Whatever you think you've got, think long and hard before you use it. Once it's out, there's no undoing it, and there's more on the line here than just a scene for TV. Sierra's expression didn't change though. I know exactly what's at stake, that's why it matters. Yandy's voice stayed steady but carried a warning. You keep playing with fire, you're going to get burned. I don't know what kind of fantasy you've made up in your head, but you're not going to drag me into it for a storyline. Sierra's brow lifted, heat finally creeping into her tone. See, that's the story you want people to believe, that this is all exaggerated. But not everything's as clean as you like to pretend. There was a pause, the kind that feels like standing on the edge before a drop. Then Sierra switched the phone to her other hand, glancing down at it as if deciding whether to unlock it. The set collectively leaned in. Yandy stepped closer, eyes never leaving her. You sure you want to go there? Maybe I already have, Sierra said slowly. Some cast members exchanged worried glances, one muttering, this is about to blow up bigger than anyone's ready for. A producer finally inserted himself between them, palm out but not touching. Ladies, if this is going to spiral into something that puts production at risk, we need to take it off camera. Neither woman moved. The tension hovered like a storm cloud that refused to break. Sierra turned to the quieter cast members. Funny how all of you are so quiet. None of you going to say what you've seen? I started away. No one spoke. Yandy laughed sharply. See, that's the problem. You keep fishing for someone to back you up, but no one here will because they know it's smoke. Or, Sierra countered, maybe they just don't want to get dragged into the middle, but they know. Her words landed heavy, pressing on the room until even breathing felt loud. A crew member dropped a mic. the clatter jolting the moment but not breaking it. Mendices lowered his voice. You're both walking a line. This isn't just about you two, it affects everybody here. Yandy's gaze never wavered. She started it. She made it personal. Sierra lifted her chin. I thought the point was to keep it real. Keeping it real isn't the same as dragging someone's name through dirt. Yandy shot back. You've got something to say. Say it to me, not to the whole set, and not wrapped up like you're just doing your job. Sierra tapped the back of her phone in a slow rhythm. Maybe I'm just done pretending certain things didn't happen. Yandy's chin lifted slightly. Or maybe you're just mad your own mess isn't enough to keep you in the spotlight. That jab made Sierra's jaw tense before her mask of composure slid back into place. Believe whatever you want, she said, her voice dropping. But when people start putting the pieces, the quiet shuffle of eyes avoiding contact said more than any words could. The weight of Sierra's last remark hung in the air, thick and heavy, dragging everyone in the room into its orbit. In the back, a cough broke the silence, a small sound, but enough to ripple through the tension. The producer's hand still hovered in that narrow gap between them. An unspoken line neither had yet crossed. Nobody moved toward the exit. Every person there knew this wasn't over. The phone was still in Sierra's hand, resting there like a secret no one was sure they wanted revealed. She didn't need to look at it anymore. Just holding it was enough. The unspoken question of what might be on it pulled everyone's gaze back. Again and again, as if they were waiting for her to suddenly turn it around and shatter the room. Yandy didn't blink, arms crossed. Weight shifted slightly, but her stance rooted like concrete. She looked ready for whatever came next. Then Sierra finally broke the silence. Her voice low but sharpened to a point. You really want me to say it? Yandy didn't hesitate. Go ahead, you're not going to stand here dangling half a story just to get your little moment. If you've got something, put it out there. The pause that followed was long enough for the sound of someone's bracelet to chime across the room. Phones buzzed faintly on tables. A few castmates leaned forward without meaning to. Their attention pulled like a magnet. Sierra's lips curved just slightly. You sure? Once it's out, there's no walking it back, I've been sure. Yandy replied, voice flat but solid. The pressure in the air deepened. The way it does right before a summer storm breaks. Sierra flipped the phone in her hand once, then slid it back into her bag. The collective exhale from the room almost sounded like relief until she spoke again. I don't even need to show anything right now. The truth has a way of coming out. And when it does, I'll be right here watching everyone pretend they didn't already know. It landed like a promise. Yandy's eyes narrowed. You talk too much for someone with nothing real to show. Quiet ooze rippled from the sidelines. Sierra didn't flinch. And you deflect too much for someone with nothing to hide. Mendices stepped in, his voice steady but commanding. Enough, we're not turning this into a circus. We've got work to do. And this isn't it though, it's it. Sierra muttered just loud enough for a mic to catch. Yandy's laugh was short, almost mocking. Girl, please, you've been reaching since the day you walked on set. The dig hit hard enough for Sierra's smirk to falter before she pulled it back into place. She stepped in closer, her tone dropping into that slow, deliberate cadence she'd been using all day. Spin it however you want. But when people see the truth, no amount of PR cleanup will save you. If you had any truth, Yandy said, voice tight, you'd be showing it instead of talking about it. The murmur swelled again, the current between them rising. A cast member tried to jump in, but their words got swallowed whole by the tension. Without warning, Sierra addressed the crew directly. Y'all hear me, right? You know what's been going on. It was a gamble, pulling the crew into it. But it sparked exactly the reaction she seemed to want. Some crew members avoided her eyes, others kept filming, and a few traded glances that hinted they'd heard whispers before. Yandy stepped in, voice steady but with a cutting edge. Don't drag other people into your mess just because you can't handle me one-on-one. This isn't my mess, Sierra shot back coldly. It's yours, I'm just holding the broom. Nervous laughs broke out in the back. The kind that only happened when no one's sure if it's safe to react. Yandy's smile was razor thin. Then sweep fast, because you're running out of time before I decide to clean house myself. The meaning wasn't lost on anyone. There was history here, not all of it public. Finally, the producer stepped in fully, a hand raised toward each woman. We're done for today. Whatever this is, you handle it off camera. Neither blinked. I said we're done, the producer repeated, sharper this time. Sierra eased her bag over her shoulder, taking a slow step back. But as she walked away, she tossed one last glance over her shoulder. Don't get too comfortable. Yandy didn't answer, not aloud. But the look in her eyes was a promise of its own. As Sierra disappeared from set, the whisper started immediately. Some swore she had something real on that phone. Others said it was all bluff, a prop for attention. Either way, no one could be sure. And that uncertainty, that was almost worse than proof, Mendices leaned toward Yandy, his voice low. "You good?" "I'm fine," she answered, clipped. But the flex of her hands betrayed something else. The crew began packing up, the scrape of equipment filling the space where the heat had been. Still, the air felt heavier than it had at the start of the day. Yandy walked out with a few cast members trailing behind, already buzzing with their own version of events to share later. Somewhere in the corner, a camera operator rewound his footage, shaking his head like he already knew the scene would be replayed, dissected, and argued about online for weeks. Meanwhile, in another room, Sierra was on her phone, not showing anything yet, but tapping with a look that promised she wasn't finished. Whether what she had was real or just bait didn't matter. The damage was already done. Because in reality TV, once you bring up receipts on camera, you're not just stirring the pot, you're setting the whole kitchen on fire. And the way Yandy held her ground might have been strength, or it might have been a cover. That glint in her eyes Sierra walked away wasn't relief. It was a warning this wasn't over. Not here, not now. Whatever comes next will follow them offset into group chats, private calls. And the next scene, whether production wants it or not, if Sierra really does have something, dropping it could trigger one of the ugliest, most talked about fallouts in the show's history. Until then, all anyone has is speculation, whispers, and side eyes. And when the truth finally surfaces, whether it's fact or fabrication, the internet will devour it. So the only question left is, was Sierra bluffing, or is she sitting on the kind of evidence that could flip Yandy's world upside down, asterisk, down, asterisk.